The rain hammered down like God's own judgment, turning the cracked sidewalk of Brooklyn's back alleys into a river of regret. Anthony slammed his fist against the brick wall, the pain shooting up his arm a welcome distraction from the ache in his chest. You think you can just walk away after everything? After a year of half-promises and stolen nights? His voice cracked, raw and ragged, echoing off the graffiti-scarred walls as thunder rolled overhead. Dominic stood there, soaked to the bone, his white shirt translucent against his skin, eyes like shattered glass under the sodium glow of a single street lamp. He didn't flinch, didn't reach out, just whispered, "I never meant to drag you into my hell, Tony. You deserve the light, not this shadow I've been hiding." The words hung between them, heavier than the storm, as Anthony's world tilted on the edge of a truth he'd sensed but never dared name. In that suspended moment, as lightning forked the sky, Anthony realized the distance Dominic had always kept wasn't cruelty. It was a cage, forged from secrets that could either set them free or shatter them forever. Anthony had never believed in love at first sight. Hell, he barely believed in love at all. Not after the parade of foster homes and dead-end jobs that had chewed him up and spit him out by 27. But there he was, nursing a lukewarm beer at a dive bar in Williamsburg, the kind of place where the jukebox played Springsteen on loop and the air smelled like stale peanuts and regret, when Dominic walked in like he'd stepped off a movie set. It was a Tuesday night in late summer, the kind where the humidity clings to your skin like a bad memory. Anthony was sketching absent-mindedly on a napkin, rough lines of a skyline he'd never climb, when the door swung open, letting in a gust of warm air and a man who turned every head without trying. Tall, lean but muscled like a runner, with dark hair cropped close on the sides and longer on top, falling just so over those piercing blue eyes. He wore a faded Yankees cap backward, jeans that hugged his hips, and a t-shirt stretched tight across his chest. The sleeves rolled up to show forearms etched with faint tattoos, script in Latin. Anthony would learn later, something about carpe diem twisted into irony. Dominic scanned the room, his gaze landing on the empty stool next to Anthony like it was fate's cruel joke. He slid onto it, ordered a whiskey neat, and flashed a smile that hit Anthony like a sucker punch. "Rough night?" Dominic asked, his voice low and gravelly, laced with that East Coast edge. Brooklyn born and bred, Anthony guessed. Anthony glanced up, pen pausing mid-stroke. Close. Dominic smelled like cedar and rain, fresh off a jog maybe. "Every night's rough if you're me." "You," Dominic chuckled, a sound that rumbled deep in his chest. "Hiding from the world. Bartender here's got a soft spot for strays." He nodded at the grizzled guy behind the counter, who slid over the drink without a word. They talked for hours, or what felt like it, the bar emptying out around them until the stools were scraped back and the lights dimmed. Dominic was a graphic designer, freelancing for ad agencies in Manhattan, the kind of job that paid just enough to keep the wolves at bay but left him chasing deadlines like a dog after its tail. Anthony spilled his own mess, bouncing between graphic novels he couldn't sell and barista gigs that barely covered his shoebox apartment in Bushwick. They bonded over bad bosses and worse exes, Dominic's laugh pulling stories out of Anthony like threads from a fraying sweater. By last call, Dominic's hand brushed Anthony's on the bar top, a spark that neither pulled away from. "Walk me out," Dominic said, not a question really. The street was alive with the hum of the city, sirens wailing distant, laughter spilling from a nearby stoop. They wandered aimlessly, shoulders bumping, until Dominic stopped under a buzzing streetlight. "This is me being forward," he murmured, and then his lips were on Anthony's, tentative at first, then hungry, like he'd been starving for it. Anthony tasted whiskey and want, his hands fisting in Dominic's shirt as the world narrowed to that kiss. They didn't go back to Anthony's place that night. Too soon, too messy. Instead, they exchanged numbers, Dominic's fingers lingering on Anthony's phone screen as he typed. "Text me tomorrow." "I mean it," Anthony did, and the floodgates opened. Texts turned to calls. Calls to coffee dates at hole-in-the-wall spots in Greenpoint, where they'd argue over the best bagel toppings. Everything, always everything, and steal kisses over steaming mugs. Dominic was a whirlwind, spontaneous road trips to Coney Island on weekends, where they'd race the Cyclone roller coaster and share cotton candy that stuck to their lips, laughing until their sides hurt. He had this way of looking at Anthony, like he was the only solid thing in a spinning world, but there were cracks even then. A phone call he'd take in the next room, voice dropping low and urgent. A hesitation before introducing Anthony to friends. Always, "This is Tony, a buddy from the bar," but the good drowned out the doubts. Their first real night together was a Friday in October, leaves crunching underfoot as they stumbled into Anthony's apartment after a showing of Before Sunrise at an indie theater in Dumbo. The film had left them raw, whispering about what-ifs and forever under the bridge's shadow. Inside, with the radiator clanking like an old man's cough, they shed clothes like sins. Dominic's body a map of scars Anthony traced with reverent fingers. A jagged line across his ribs from a childhood bike crash, faded burns on his knuckles from some forgotten fight. "You're beautiful," Anthony breathed, and Dominic's response was a groan, pulling him down onto the futon that doubled as a bed. It was slow, exploratory, hands mapping uncharted territories, breaths mingling in the dim glow of a single lamp. Dominic moved like he was memorizing Anthony, every touch a vow, but when it crested, there was a fierceness in his eyes, a desperation that bordered on farewell. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of them, Dominic held Anthony close, chin resting on his shoulder. "This feels right," he said, voice muffled against skin. "Like I could get used to it." Anthony turned, pressing a kiss to his temple. "Then get used to it." "Stay." Dominic's smile was soft, but his eyes, those blue depths, held shadows Anthony couldn't quite pierce. One step at a time. Yeah. That became their rhythm. Steps forward, then pauses. Holidays crept up. Thanksgiving at Dominic's cramped walk-up in Bed-Stuy, where he cooked a turkey that was more charcoal than golden, and they laughed over takeout instead, feet entwined under the coffee table. Christmas Eve, Anthony dragged him to Rockefeller Center, the tree a blaze of lights against the night sky, and they kissed amid the skaters, Dominic's hands warm in Anthony's gloves. But New Year's? Dominic begged off. Family stuff, vague as fog, leaving Anthony to watch the ball drop alone in a crowded bar, toasting to ghosts. By spring, the distance gnawed. Dates were electric picnics in Prospect Park, where Dominic would sketch Anthony's profile on a sketchpad, capturing the curve of his jaw with strokes that made Anthony blush. But intimacy? It was fire and then ash. Dominic would pull away mid-embrace, citing exhaustion or deadlines, his body language screaming not yet. Anthony chalked it up to scars of his own, trust issues from a high school boyfriend who'd ghosted him after coming out, but deep down, a whisper asked why. One April evening, after a gallery opening in Chelsea where Dominic's work hung framed and fierce, they slipped into a cab, buzzed on cheap wine. Anthony's hand on Dominic's thigh, inching higher, but Dominic caught his wrist gently. Not tonight, Tony. I'm not in the headspace. Hurt flickered, but Anthony swallowed it. Talk to me. What's eating you? Dominic stared out the window at the blurring lights. Old baggage. Ex who left me twisted up. Give me time. Time. Always time. Anthony nodded, but as the cab pulled up to his building, he wondered if time was a bridge or a wall. Summer returned, sticky and insistent, their one-year mark looming like a milestone or a guillotine. They celebrated early at a rooftop party in the Lower East Side. Fairy lights strung like stars, bass thumping from hidden speakers. Dominic pulled Anthony into a slow dance amid the crowd, bodies flush, his breath hot against Anthony's ear. You've changed everything, he murmured. Made me believe in this again. Anthony's heart swelled, but as the night wore on, Dominic's phone buzzed incessantly, ignored at first, then silenced with a curse. Work, he lied, but Anthony saw the caller ID flash. Mom. By the party's end, as fireworks cracked over the East River, Dominic kissed him fierce and final. I love you, he said, the words a gift wrapped in thorns. Anthony froze, the confession a bomb and a blade. Say it again. I love you, Tony. God help me. I do, but love, Anthony learned that night, could keep its distance too. Fall painted the city in fire, Central Park ablaze with crimson maples, the air crisp enough to bite. Anthony and Dominic dove into it like kids, apple picking in upstate orchards one weekend, hay bales scratching their jeans as they fed each other caramel-dipped slices, sticky kisses following. Dominic's laughter rang freer then, unguarded, and Anthony clung to those moments like lifelines, weaving them into the tapestry of us he was building in his mind. But the shadows lengthened. Dominic's freelance gigs dried up, leaving him pacing their shared space. Anthony had convinced him to sublet a room in Bushwick by July, a victory that felt like permanence. Nights blurred into arguments over unpaid bills, Dominic snapping at shadows, retreating to the fire escape with a cigarette and a stare that pierced the skyline. It's nothing, he'd say when Anthony pressed, but his hands trembled, betraying the lie. One October dusk, Anthony came home early from a shift at the coffee shop, arms laden with takeout from their favorite Thai place. Pad see you extra spicy, just how Dominic liked it. The apartment was dim, curtains drawn, and there was Dominic, hunched over his laptop at the kitchen table, face illuminated by the screen's cold glow. Anthony set the bags down softly, but Dominic jumped, slamming the lid shut like it had burned him. Jesus, Tony. Warn a guy. Sorry. Thought you'd be glad for company. Anthony leaned in for a kiss, but Dominic turned his cheek, the rejection a slap. Not now. Deadline. Anthony's stomach twisted. You've been deadlining for weeks. Talk to me, Dom. We're in this together. Remember? Dominic rubbed his temples, eyes bloodshot. It's complicated. Money shit. My family's. They're not helping. Family? Anthony sat across from him, the food cooling between them. Dominic rarely spoke of them, a single mom in Queens, a dad who'd bailed when he was 10, siblings scattered like shrapnel. What? They cut you off. Worse. Dominic's voice was a whisper, gaze fixed on the table's scarred wood. Mom's sick. Cancer. Stage 3. Chemo's draining us dry. And I promised I'd cover it. Anthony's breath caught. Why didn't you say? We could've. What? Crowd-funded our love story. Dominic's laugh was bitter, hollow. You're scraping by too, Tony. I won't drag you under. The words landed like bricks. Anthony reached across, fingers brushing Dominic's. Drag me? This is partnership. Let me help. Dominic pulled back, standing abruptly. You don't get it. This isn't some rom-com where we bootstrap our way to happily ever after. It's real. Ugly. And I'm handling it. By shutting me out? Anthony's voice rose, echoing in the small space. We've been together a year, Dom. A year of me pouring everything into us, and you treat me like a roommate with benefits. Dominic flinched, the color draining from his face. That's not fair, isn't it? Anthony stood too, closing the gap. You flinch when I say I love you back. You vanish for hours, come back smelling like hospital corridors. If you don't want this, I do. Dominic's shout silenced them both, his chest heaving. He cupped Anthony's face, thumbs rough against cheekbones. God, I do. More than you know. But loving you means protecting you from my mess. Anthony searched those blue eyes, seeing storms he couldn't navigate. Protecting me? Or protecting yourself? The silence stretched, taut as a wire, until Dominic kissed him. Fierce, apologetic, tasting of salt and unspoken fears. They ate in bed that night, the TV droning some cop show neither watched. Bodies entwined but minds miles apart. Anthony traced the tattoo on Dominic's forearm, memento mori. He'd learned it meant, remember you must die, and wondered if that's what Dominic was doing. Remembering death, forgetting life. Winter clamped down hard that year, snow blanketing the burrows in hush. They hunkered in, building forts of blankets and binge-watching The Wire. Dominic's head in Anthony's lap as Anthony carted fingers through his hair. But the calls from the hospital grew frequent, Dominic slipping out at odd hours, returning with hollow cheeks and excuses. Anthony started leaving care packages by the door, thermos of soup. Scribbled notes, you're not alone. Kick cancer's ass. One blizzard night, Anthony woke to an empty bed, the clock glowing 3:17 a.m. He found Dominic in the living room, staring at a stack of medical bills like they were indictments. Can't sleep, Anthony murmured, wrapping arms around him from behind. Dominic leaned into it, just for a second. Nightmares. Mom's not responding to the treatment. Docs say. Options are running out. Anthony's heart cracked. Move in fully. We'll figure the rent. I can pick up extra shifts. No. Dominic twisted away, voice steel. I won't let you sacrifice for this. You're young, Tony. Got dreams, that novel you're always scribbling. Don't chain yourself to my sinking ship. Chain? This is choice. Anthony's eyes burned. I choose you. Every fucked up, beautiful part. Dominic's resolve fractured then, pulling Anthony down onto the couch in a tangle of limbs and desperation. It was rough, urgent, teeth and nails, Dominic whispering sorry like a prayer against Anthony's skin. Dawn found them bruised and sated, but the gulf lingered, wider now. Valentine's Day dawned gray and slushy. Anthony planned simple. Dinner at home, candles scavenged from a bodega, a playlist of their songs, Wonderwall for the irony. All of me for the truth. Dominic arrived late, flowers wilting in his fist, eyes distant. Rough day at the infusion center. They ate in near silence, the pasta congealing on plates. Anthony tried jokes. Stories from the shop, customers with names like Bartholomew ordering lattes, but Dominic picked at his food, gaze lost. Finally, Anthony set down his fork. What's really going on, Dom? And don't say nothing. Dominic exhaled, long and shaky. I saw my ex today. At the hospital. He's a nurse there. Keeps tabs. Thinks he still has a claim. Anthony's blood iced. Ex? The one who twisted you up? Yeah. Kyle. We were intense. He didn't take the breakup well. Stalked me for months. Trashed my place once. That's why the distance. Tony. I didn't want history bleeding into us. The confession hung. A specter. Anthony's mind reeled. Flashes of Dominic's hesitations. The locked phone. The late nights. And you thought lying would protect me? From what? Jealousy? Or from seeing you're still tangled? I'm not. Dominic's fist hit the table. Wine sloshing. I ended it clean. But he knows about you. Warned me I'd ruin you like I ruined him. Anthony stood, chair scraping. So I'm the fool in this? The side piece you keep at arm's length because your ex says so? No. Tony, save it. Anthony grabbed his coat, the door slamming behind him like a period. He wandered the snow-dusted streets, breath fogging, heart a drum of betrayal. Hours later, buzzed on bar scotch, he texted, "Come home. We fixed this." Dominic's reply, "On my way. I love you. Don't give up on me." But as Anthony stared at the screen, doubt bloomed, love or lie, the mystery deepened, pulling him under. Spring teased with false thaws, cherry blossoms defiant against the chill. They patched the rift with therapy sessions, Anthony's idea, a queer counselor in Park Slope who doled out homework like vulnerability maps. Dominic opened cracks, tales of Kyle's possessiveness, the restraining order that still haunted his credit. Anthony shared his own ghosts, foster dad who beat the fag out of him, the prom night punch that split his lip. It bonded them, or so Anthony thought. Picnics resumed, hands laced under checkered blankets. Dominic's sketches now filled with their faces. Anthony laughing, eyes crinkled. My muse, he'd say, kissing knuckles. But the distance crept back, insidious. Dominic's mom stabilized, a miracle chemo round, yet he withdrew, claiming freelance stress. Anthony found him one night, staring at an old photo on his phone, him and Kyle, arms slung casual, smiles bright as bottle rockets. Who's the real ghost here? Anthony whispered, but Dominic only sighed, deleting the image with a swipe. By their anniversary eve, the air hummed with unspoken rot. Anthony planned a surprise, dinner at the bar where they met, a ring in his pocket, not proposal, just promise. But as he dressed, Dominic's key turned in the lock, face ashen. We need to talk, he said, and the world tilted. The bar hadn't changed, same sticky floors, same Springsteen crooning from the jukebox, but Anthony felt like a stranger in his own skin as Dominic led him to that corner booth, the one scarred with initials from lovers long gone. The air was thick with fry grease and regret, and Anthony's pulse thrummed like a war drum. Dominic ordered whiskeys without asking, his hands unsteady as he pushed one across the scarred wood. Talk, Anthony said, voice flat, the ring burning a hole in his pocket like contraband. Outside, rain pattered against the grimy windows, a prelude to the storm brewing inside. Dominic stared into his glass, ice clinking like accusations. I lied. About Kyle. About everything. He swallowed hard, Adam's apple bobbing. He's not just an ex. We're still legally tied. Married, Tony. In secret, for tax shit and green card favors when he immigrated from Ireland. Divorced on paper 2 years ago, but he won't sign the final forms. Holds it over me like a noose. The words landed like a gut punch, stealing Anthony's air. A year. A year of whispered I love yous and shared beds. And this? Married. Anthony tasted bile. You let me fall for a married man? Played house while you dodged your husband. Not like that. Dominic's eyes flashed. Desperate. It was dead before you. Kyle's a manipulator, came out to his family, got disowned, latched onto me like salvation. I pitied him, stayed for the vows we never meant. But you're real. The first real thing since I lost my way. Anthony laughed, sharp and broken. Real? You kept a wife, husband, whenever he snapped his fingers. Those family emergencies? Him dragging you back to his bed? No! Dominic's fist clenched, knuckles white. Visits were clean papers. Threats of outing me to my mom if I didn't play nice. He's got photos, old ones, twisted to look like I cheated. Leverage. The bar spun, patrons blurring into ghosts. Anthony saw it all refract. The hesitations, the locked doors, the way Dominic's body tensed at certain rings. Betrayal bloomed hot and vicious. And you thought this was protecting me? Letting me build a life on lies? I was going to tell you. Tonight. Clean break. Lawyer up for real this time. Dominic reached across, but Anthony jerked back. Don't. The word was a wall. A year. Dom. I gave you everything. My heart. My home. And you gave me scraps. Dominic's face crumpled, tears tracking clean paths through bar grime. I know. God. I know. Every time I held you, I hated myself more. But losing you? That's the real death. Anthony stood, chair scraping loud enough to turn heads. Rain lashed harder now, thunder growling threats. You already lost me. The second you chose silence over truth. He bolted into the night, coatless, the downpour soaking him instant. Streets slick as betrayal. He ran, past brownstones with warm windows mocking his chill, under awnings where couples huddled close. His phone buzzed. Please. Come back. Let me fix this. But fix what? A love built on sand? Anthony ducked into a diner, the fluorescent buzz a harsh confessor. He ordered coffee black as his mood, scrolling old texts. Miss you already. Can't wait to build forever, each a knife twist. Hours bled, the storm raging, until exhaustion pulled him to a cab, back to the apartment that no longer felt like home. Dominic was there, drenched too, pacing like a caged wolf. Tony, get out. Anthony's voice was ice, pointing to the door. Take your lies and go. Dominic froze, then nodded, slow. I love you. That wasn't a lie. He grabbed a duffel from the closet, always half-packed. Anthony realized with sick clarity and paused at the threshold. If you ever. I'm at Mom's. The door clicked shut. A guillotine. Anthony sank to the floor, sobs racking him silent, the ring clattering from his pocket like a fallen star. Days blurred into fog. Anthony called out sick, world narrowing to microwave meals and Netflix loops. Friends, Javier from the shop, Lena the illustrator down the hall, coaxed him out for drinks, platitudes flowing like cheap beer, his loss, babe. Plenty of fish in this sea. But Anthony drowned in what-ifs, sketching Dominic's face until paper tore, the blue eyes haunting every stroke. A week in, Kyle texted, number unknown, but the lilt screamed Irish. Heard you got dumped. Want the real story. Meet me. Coffee. Neutral ground. Anthony's thumb hovered, venom surging. Fuck off. Your funeral, lad. Dom's got secrets deeper than that ring on his finger. Anthony blocked it, but the worm burrowed. Secrets? What more could there be? 2 weeks, and the apartment echoed empty. Dominic's sketches gone, his cologne faded to ghost. Anthony boxed clothes, aired linens, but memories clung like damp. Work dragged, customers blurred, Javier's worried glances await. Nights, he wandered the bridge, East River churning black below, city lights a distant promise. Then, fracture, a call from an unknown number. Dominic's mom, voice frail as tissue. Anthony? It's Maria. Dominic. He didn't want me to, but he's in the hospital. Bad reaction to meds. Asking for you. Heart seizing. Anthony was out the door. Subway rattling like bones. Mount Sinai's halls smelled of antiseptic and despair. Fluorescence buzzing judgment. Maria waited in the lobby, chemoballed under a scarf, as kind but keened. He loves you, Mijo. Don't let his stupidity steal that. Room 412. Dominic, hooked to IVs, skin sallow, blue eyes sunken but lighting at Anthony's entrance. You came. Course I did. Idiot. Anthony's voice broke, chair scraping close. He took Dominic's hand, fragile in his, tubes snaking like lies. I'm sorry, Dominic whispered, thumb stroking Anthony's knuckles. All of it. Kyle's bullshit. My cowardice. Mom told you. Yeah, Anthony swallowed. But that's not why I'm here. It's you, Dom. Always was. Tears spilled. Dominic's grip tightening. Scans were clear last month. Thought we had time. Then this sepsis from a port infection. Docs say I'll pull through, but scared me straight. No more hiding. Anthony leaned in, forehead to Dominic's. Good. Because I'm done with half measures. They talked then, raw and unfiltered. Kyle's final threats. The annulment papers Dominic had filed that week, hidden in his desk. It's over, he vowed. For real. Anthony believed him, or wanted to. Discharge came slow, rehab a grind, but Anthony was there, soup stirred, meds managed, nights on the pull-out with Dominic's snores a lullaby. Spring bloomed tentative, their rhythm rebuilding brick by brick. But doubt lingered, a thorn. One evening, as Dominic dozed, Anthony rifled his phone. Wrong, invasive, but hunger gnawed. Text from Kyle, you'll regret this. I know what you did that night in Dublin. Anthony's blood chilled. Dublin? Dominic had never mentioned Ireland beyond Kyle's origins. He confronted him at dawn, coffee steaming accusation. What happened in Dublin? Dom? With Kyle. Dominic paled, mug slipping. Old news. Before we annulled. He pushed. Pushed what? Anthony's voice rose, fear coiling. A beat. Me. Into. Things I regret. Party. Too much drink. Woke up. Compromised. The pieces slotted. Leverage. The photos. Betrayal layered. Not just lies but violation. Anthony's world reeled. And you carried that alone? Let it poison us? I didn't want pity. Dominic's eyes pleaded. Wanted to be the man you deserved. You are, Anthony said. Fierce. Flaws and all. But no more secrets. They embraced. But the scar tissue pulled tight. Anniversary dawned rainy. The bar a no-go. Instead, they walked the High Line. Rails overgrown with wildflowers. City sprawling below. Dominic stopped at a bench, pulling a box from his jacket, matching tattoos sketched on paper. Promise? He asked. Anthony nodded, throat thick. Promise. But as they inked later, needle buzzing pain into skin, Anthony wondered if promises could bridge chasms, or just paper them over. Summer scorched the asphalt, turning Manhattan into a skillet. But Anthony and Dominic chased cool in stolen moments. Ferry rides to Staten Island. Wind whipping confessions into the harbor's spray. The tattoos healed to raised script. So are Miam Tibby. My heart to you. A vow etched permanent. Dominic seemed lighter. Kyle's shadow receding with the annulment stamp. His freelance picking up with a gig for a queer mag. Illustrations fierce and queer as their love. Yet the distance echoed. Subtle now. A hesitation in Dominic's touch. Eyes drifting mid-conversation. Anthony chalked it to recovery, mom's checkups. His own freelance dry spell. But the whisper grew. What else hides? Labor Day weekend. They escaped to the Catskills. A borrowed cabin nestled in pines. Lake lapping lazy. It was meant as reset. Hikes at dawn. Skinny dips at dusk. No signal to summon ghosts. First night. Fire crackling. Dominic pulled Anthony close on the porch swing. Stars pricking the ink-black sky. This is it, Tony. Unbroken. Anthony kissed him slow. Hands roaming familiar paths. But Dominic tensed. Breath hitching not in pleasure. Wait. Anthony pulled back. Firelight dancing shadows on Dominic's face. Again. Not like that. Dominic's voice cracked. Gaze dropping to the flames. It's the meds. Side effects. Can't perform like before. Anthony's heart stuttered. Pity warring with love. Hey. It's us. Not a checklist. But Dominic shrugged off the embrace. Standing abrupt. Easy for you to say. You're whole. I'm defective. The word hung. Venomous. Anthony rose, cupping his jaw. Bullshit. You're mine. Every scar. Every glitch. They made love anyway, slow. Relearning without pressure. Breaths sinking like waves. It was enough. Or Anthony told himself, as Dominic slept sound beside him. Return to the city soured quick. Dominic dove into work. Vanishing to studios in Soho. Coming home wired and withdrawn. Anthony's novel draft gathered dust. Rejections piling like snowdrifts. Fights flared over trifles. Dishes. Deadlines. Escalating to core. You're pulling away again, Anthony accused one October eve. Rain lashing windows like judgment. I'm not, Dominic shouted back, slamming cabinets. I'm fighting for us, bills, mom's copays. You think this is easy? Anthony laughed bitter. Easy? I carried us through your hospital hell. Now you treat me like baggage. Dominic deflated, sinking to the floor. It's not you. The cancer. Not mom's, mine. Time stopped. Anthony slid down opposite, world tilting. What? Tested positive last month. Prostate. Early. Docs caught it routine, after the sepsis scare. Radiation starts next week. Silence roared. Anthony crawled across, pulling Dominic into bone crush. Why hide? We face this together. Because. Dominic's sob muffled in Anthony's shirt. Last time. With mom. I saw what it does. Drains you dry. And after Kyle. The violation, I can't be weak again. Can't lose you to pity. Pity? Anthony's voice broke. This is love. You stubborn ass. The kind that stays. Dominic clung tighter. What if it doesn't? What if I'm the end of you? Then we burn bright. Anthony kissed his temple. Resolve stealing. Together. Treatment began, brutal radiation zapping energy. Dominic a ghost haunting their bed. Anthony juggled shifts. Meals prepped with ginger for nausea. Notes tucked in pockets, you're my hero. Fight on. Friends rallied, Javier's care packages. Lena's art therapy sessions, but Dominic spiraled. Mirrors avoided. Intimacy a minefield. One November night. Storm raging biblical. Dominic vanished. Anthony searched frantic. Bars. Bridges. Kyle's old haunt in Hell's Kitchen. Phone dead. Panic clawing. Until a text pinged at 2 a.m. Roof. Need you. Anthony bolted upstairs. Fire escape slick as betrayal. Dominic perched on the ledge. City abyss below. Rain sheeting his face indistinguishable from tears. Dom! Anthony lunged, grabbing his arm. Down. Now. Dominic's laugh was shattered glass. Can't do it, Tony. The pain, it's eating me alive. Chemo flashbacks. Kyle's voice in my head. You're broken. Always were. What's left? Anthony hauled him back. Bodies slamming against brick. Safe but seismic. You. This. He kissed him fierce. Rain mingling salt. Remember the bar? That kiss? Started here. Ends with me choosing you sick. Whole. Whatever. Dominic sobbed, collapsing into him. I don't deserve. Shut up. Anthony held tight. Thunder their heartbeat. Deserve? Love's not a merit badge. It's a promise. They stumbled inside, soaked and spent, curling under blankets as the tempest howled. Dawn broke gray. Dominic's fever spiking from exposure, ambulance wail. Our lights stark. Anthony paced vinyl floors. Maria's hand in his. Kyle's text haunting. Told you he'd crack. Discharge brought fragile peace, therapy mandated. Meds adjusted. Winter wrapped them gentle. Holidays hushed. Hanukkah candles with Maria. New Year's quiet on the couch. Dominic's head in lap. To untouched mysteries, he toasted. Glass clinking Anthony's. Solved. Scars and all. But spring unearthed the blade. Anonymous email to Anthony's work. Photos Dominic and Kyle. Post Dublin. Bruises blooming on Dominic's throat. Eyes hollow. Caption, he liked it rough. Ask him. Rage boiled. Anthony confronted. Prints splayed on table. Truth. Dom. All of it. Dominic blanched, tracing a photo's edge. Kyle. He drugged me. That night. Woke up. Used. Reported it. But no proof. He twisted it, said I begged. That's the leverage. The real distance. Shame. Tony. I couldn't face you knowing I was tainted. Anthony's world fractured. Pieces Kyle's cruelty. Tainted? Your survivor. My survivor. He called the cops that day, reopened file. Kyle's smug denial crumbling under forensics old but damning. Arrest made headlines queer rags. Artist's ex faces assault charge. Dominic testified broken but unbroken. Anthony at his side. Hand steady. Climax crested in court. Kyle's glare venom as verdict dropped. Guilty. 5 years. Outside. Rain again, fitting baptism. Dominic turned to Anthony. Free but frayed. It's over. All of it. Anthony pulled him close. Lips brushing ear. No. It starts now. But as they walked into sun, Dominic faltered, hand slipping from Anthony's. What if I'm too broken? Then we rebuild. Anthony's voice fierce. Brick by scarred brick. The city exhaled with them that summer. Heat wave breaking into balmy breaths. As if the universe conspired for second acts. Dominic's radiation wrapped. Scans clean as fresh newsprint. And with Kyle's shadow caged, he bloomed freelance booming. A solo show in Chelsea slated for fall. Sketches of Anthony now gallery gold. They moved. Proper this time. A 1-bedroom in Crown Heights. Brownstone charm with fire escape herb garden. Walls papered in their history. Photos from Coney. Ticket stubs from rent revivals. Intimacy returned tentative. Then torrent. Lazy Sundays tangled. Dominic's hands sure again. Whispers of mine against sweat-slick skin. But trauma's tendrils lingered. Nightmares jolting Dominic awake. Anthony soothing with stories spun soft. Novel fragments of heroes unbroken. Therapy wove them tighter. Sessions spilling into pillow talk. I kept distance to shield you. Dominic confessed one dawn. Fingers tracing Anthony's tattoo. But shields are cages. Lesson learned. Anthony nodded, kissing knuckles. And I push too hard sometimes. Balance. Yeah, balance. Dominic's smile. Rare and radiant. Maria rallied too. Remission holding. Her kitchen a hub for Sunday suppers, empanadas steaming. Laughter loud over Dominic's bad jokes. You too, she'd say. Eyes twinkling. Like that old Sinatra tune. The best is yet to come. Fall unfurled golden. Dominic's opening a triumph. Gallery packed with glitterati. Anthony's toast. To the man who taught me love's no mystery. Just brave choice. Drawing cheers and a kiss that blurred applause. Critics raved. Raw. Romantic. Redemptive. Dominic glowed. But pulled Anthony aside mid-mingle. Voice husky. None of this without you. Winter whispered gentle. No blizzards. Just snow globe flurries dusting their walks to the park. Christmas. They hosted. Tree trimmed with ornaments handmade. Popsicle stick stars from Dominic's kid days. Anthony's foster crafts unearthed. Gifts unwrapped slow. For Dominic, a leather-bound sketchbook engraved untouched no more. For Anthony, a ring simple band. Promise etched inside. So are meum tecum semper. Marry me? Dominic asked. Knee not bent but heart bared. Eyes blue as forever. Anthony's yes was a sob, sealing it with a kiss tasting of pine and possibility. Spring brought bloom. Anthony's novel sold. Indie press hungry for queer grit. Title borrowed, distance kept. Love found. Book tour loomed. But they planned tandem, Dominic illustrating covers, Maria babysitting the plants. One April eve. Cherry petals raining confetti. They stood on the bridge. East River glittering. 1 year since the storm, Anthony murmured. Hand in Dominic's. 2. Now, Dominic turned, cupping his face. From bar to this. Miracles happen, but life, humanistic scribe, penned no fairy dust. June tested. Dominic's PSA ticked up, shadow scan flagged. Biopsy waited, a sword over silk. Panic flickered, old distances threatening, but they faced it armored. Walks hand in hand, Maria's rosaries murmured, friends' potlucks a buffer. Results came midtown, sterile room with DR. Patel's kind eyes. Benign, she said, charts unburdened. False alarm. Keep vigilant, but live. They wept in the elevator. Joy jagged. Dominic's laugh bubbling. Fucking finally. Summer circled back. Anniversary eve at the bar, full circle. Springsteen crooning. Booths claimed. Whiskey's neat. Dominic's hand steady on Anthony's thigh. To mysteries solved, he toasted. To love untouched, Anthony echoed. But deeply felt. They walked out into night alive. Siren song. Lights beacon, no rain. Just stars winking complicit. Home called. Bed waiting. Bodies and souls entwined. No distances left. Only depths plumbed. Years spun. Book tours to coasts. Dominic's murals gracing subways. A wedding small in Prospect Park. Vows under oaks. Maria beaming. Javier officiating with flair. Kids came later. Foster's first. 2 boys with Dominic's eyes. Anthony's fire, home a chaos of crayons and questions. Old age crept kind. Hair silvered. Hands veined. But walks unchanged. Bridge at dusk. Stories retold. Dominic's final sketch. Bedbound at 82. Was them young, bar kiss. Rain-kissed confrontation. Ringed hands. Our epic, he whispered, breath feathering. Anthony held him as light faded. Tears salt on lips. Untouched? Never. You touched everything. Grief carved hollow. But humanism healed. Maria's stories to grandkids. Javier's toasts at memorials. The city, Brooklyn's pulse, carrying their echo. Anthony wrote on. Final novel dedicated. For Dom. Distance kept us safe. Love brought us home. In the end, love's mystery, no riddle, just revelation. Flawed, fierce, forever. Human as the skyline, romantic as rain.